Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is iGoRawr and welcome to Let's Auraxium. And today we are going to be looking at the Lasher, the Vanu Sovereignty's special heavy weapon. Now before I begin, I do need to apologize to the great people of Connery vs. From April 19th to May 6th, I had a terrible Lasher addiction. It started out innocently enough. I did it on weekends with friends just to try it out, but soon after I found myself shooting up with it all the time. In biolabs, amp stations, for God's sakes. I even did it in the back of Valkyries. But I'm clean now. And I know my addiction hurt a lot of you. I mean, it was the first time in my life I ever got weapons lock. But I hope we can all move past this and remove our flak armor. But with all of that out of the way, let's look at the stats. Starting off with its fire rate of 333 rounds a minute, a direct damage of 155 damage up to 10 meters, dropping off to 105 damage at 65 meters, with a splash damage of 75 damage up to 1 meter, dropping off to 25 damage at 3 meters. It pretty much is the slowest killing primary weapon in the game, but goddamn is it ever unique. Next is the reload speed of 4.2 seconds for a short reload and 5.2 seconds for a long reload, with a magazine size of 75 rounds that can be upgraded to 150 rounds using the extended magazine attachment. And finally, its terrible velocity of 100 meters a second. Overall, the Lasher is a bit of a sluggish weapon, but at least it's easy enough to handle. I would recommend running it with whatever sights you're comfortable with, but don't be afraid to have that HV scope on standby. Smoking Lashers can be an absolute bitch to fight against. When it comes to the rail slot, I always picked the extended magazine. The forward grip for this weapon is almost useless due to its extremely low fire rate and low horizontal recoil. The laser sight has some viability, but I never really found myself hip-firing the weapon. The fire rate is just so low that the ADS at any range is really the only way to go with the Lasher. So that brings us to our final question. Is this gun worth your time? And the answer is sort of. The Lasher is a good weapon, but it's just like masturbation. There is a time and place for it. The Lasher is fun to use. It's interesting and extremely effective in the hands of someone that knows what they're doing with it. And even more effective in a group of people all doing it at the same time. Just like masturbation. But for as much as I like the Lasher, I can't help but point out the major issues the weapon has. And trust me, there are a lot of issues that the Lasher has. Well, let's start with the biggest issue I had with the weapon, and that was that the friendly fire with this thing is insane. Do you remember back in grade school, every class had that one kid that always started shit and ruined everyone's good time? Well, the Lasher is that in weaponized form. All it takes is one knob jockey without a frickin' clue that can't get with the goddamn program to ruin everyone's good time with this weapon. Or better yet, an entire room filled with them. I have played over 80 days, that's right, days of PlanetSide without getting a single weapons lock. From start to finish of my Lasher Auraxium, I got 11. That's about one weapons lock for every 100 kills I got. So you know what, guy that raged in me at Prox Chat? Maybe it's not me. Maybe it's you. And to all you idiots that can't understand to get out of the doorway, hold on a second. Okay, moving on. So how does the Lasher pan out in an actual battle? Well, it's good for holding your position, but not much else. In fact, it's less a weapon and more of a suppression tool. After taking a long time with the Lasher and putting it into every possible situation I could find, I can honestly say that any and all attempts to push the front line or take any sort of aggressive role with the weapon is near impossible. So what do I mean by pushing the front line? Well, here's a crappy MS Paint example. Every black line I've drawn on the map here represents a spot that the enemy is having difficulty pushing their forces past. Now right on that line, that black line, is where you want to be focusing all your fire, because that zone right there, you are king of that zone. But any attempts to kill or even injure any infantry beyond that point is almost guaranteed to be punished by death. The reason that it always seems to play out this way is because the length of exposure required to actually kill someone with a Lasher in any sort of aggressive role is almost guaranteed to get you shot up and killed, even by the slowest killing infantry weapons. You have to stay behind your friendlies in order to be effective with the Lasher, and that is also an issue because hitting your friendlies is so goddamn easy. On top of all that, its accuracy is not amazing. Just about every weapon in the game has a starting cone of fire of 0.1 degrees or better when aiming down sights, but the Lasher starts with 0.3 degrees. So every time you pull the trigger, it's like firing your standard 143 damage model carbine with the accuracy of the 4th or 5th shot. So suppression at range with this weapon is not very effective, and with a velocity of only 100 meters a second, you're probably going to be stuck to the mid-ranges at all times. The last issue with his accuracy is that all the rounds are bigger than normal bullets. The entire plasma ball has a hitbox to it and will explode on the first thing it touches. Because of this, shooting from tight corners or into tight corners are normally a bad idea, and all of which is compounded by its poor starting accuracy. There's no doubt in my mind that the Lasher is a good weapon, but it's so situational that the times you'll actually need it or want it are very far and few between. But you know what? It's actually a fun weapon and offers something that no other faction has. Something that you can just spam at a doorway and rake in kills. Oh, wait a minute, Ravens. And Pounders. Well, it's still fun. Anyways, guys, that's it for this time. My name's iGoRawr, and I'll see you guys next time.
They're gonna try to kill that scythe.
I think I hear it.
I swallow for station cash.
Oh god! That's his name?
Yes! Yes!
That's brilliant! Alright, we're chasing after a guy with a Dalton.